So, here we are, 10 days away from the first bounce of the ball in anger for the Collingwood Football Club. Yes, we've seen the pre-season games, and let's be honest, we can take or leave them. And realistically, if you're anything like me, you've left a lot of it in the past, especially this past weekend. I'm the Mighty T. Joining me tonight, I have gone critical to discuss everything Collingwood this week. GC, how are you, mate?
I'm well. I'm well, and 10 days to go, so we're getting a bit excited, but a little bit pensive at the same time.
A little bit pensive at the same time, looking warily over the shoulder at that Bulldogs game we just left behind. We also have joining us as usual, Magpie Girl. How are you, Magpie Girl?
I am terrific, thanks, Mighty T, and I'm very excited about the football about to start.
Oh well, I think we're all excited, but I think that the one thing that seeped in to our fair forum and to the hearts of a few Collingwood supporters would have been a little bit of apprehension. GC, you were at the game like me. You paid your hard earned to go and see that display. What were your thoughts, and what do you take out of it?
Well, my first thought is I hope that's not representative of what we present for the year, because I hope that was our sort of Fremantle match a week early. I think that the absence of any real answer from the coaches when we struggled. At quarter time I thought, all right, we're going to do something now. But it just by quarter, nothing happened, and we just seemed to almost lie down and let them have their way with us. It was kind of disturbing.
Yeah, I guess the disturbing thing was that it wasn't just simple things, it wasn't just mistakes we were making. They were comprehensively better, and we didn't even look amongst it.
Yes, yeah. They looked bigger, stronger, and better skilled. They really, it was. You were just waiting for us to sort of put something out there to say, look, this is what we've got. Actually, that was a bit of a misnomer the last two quarters. We can do better than that, but we didn't really. Apart from that, there was a brief bit in the third quarter where we looked okay. We kicked about 3 goals, I think, but apart from that, we really didn't. We didn't come back at them, which I didn't like.
I think the thing is, I mean, there's always going to be talk about it being pre-season and taking things easy, but I never think it's good to go into round one very flat-footed, and we really did look like we were on the back foot for most of the game. There was nothing. I can't even. It's going to sound bad, but I can't even see a positive to take out of the game, to be honest.
Yeah, I'd say I saw 3 small ones. I thought Marley Williams was much more like his self of 2013.
Yep.
I thought Adam Oxley just franked his form from the week before. He's much closer to the 22 than I think he was a few weeks ago.
Yep.
And I thought Ramsey in the same way. Not necessarily even have either of them necessarily in the 22, but at least they showed a little bit of something. But everyone else, I don't think anyone else showed us anything.
Oh, look, I like Ramsey. I like Oxley. I like what pissed me off more than anything else was the fact that I didn't see Gold for 3 quarters, and when he came on, he was impressive. Like he almost seemed like he single-handedly was making a little bit of a difference, but there just wasn't enough, delivery into him to actually see him make an impact.
Yeah.
Does that mean they weren't interested in putting the best team out there? They really just wanted to give everybody a bit of a run, as horrible as it was to look at?
Well, I'd love that to be the answer, and I think it's possible that they really didn't go all out to win it, and maybe they were doing things that we aren't privy to. But it's hard to see a football match where you think how much advantage can be to keep all your cards hidden when you're being comprehensively outplayed. It just doesn't look good, and it cannot be good for confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't think that our club is at the level where we have the experience and the confidence in the players that can just, flick the proverbial switch and come round one, just turn it on and be a dominating strong side. Because realistically, the team we played this past weekend is a bottom 4 side. And the Lions are probably a bottom 5 or a bottom 6 side. So we should go up to Brisbane with a level of confidence, despite what happened at the end of last year, right, that I don't think is there. And we should be going up there expecting a win. And I can't see how the players, or at least the supporting staff, so the supporter base, can be expected to expect a win, given the performances we've seen so far.
Yeah. The other thing that disturbed me a little bit was the guys on the edge of the team, who the Sinclairs, the Fasolos, and a few of those guys. I thought, well, this is your chance to cement. You've got 24 blokes here today. All you have to do is play well, and you're in for the first round, and then you've got a spot. And I was surprised how many of them just didn't give a yelp.
You would have thought that given Karnezis' absence from the game, because he was dropped, I'm guessing given his performance against Carlton, he was dropped, because, again, that wasn't a great performance by him. You would think that a few of them would turn around and say, okay, hang on, we've got to really pull our fingers out here. I thought Adams was okay. He was typical in his use of the ball, but at least he was ambitious. He got a lot of it and seemed to work hard. But you're right. When you talk about, again, the Sinclairs, the Fasolos, the logjam of small defenders we have, no one really staked their claim, strongly to say, right, I am in round one.
Yeah. I'd say Marley did. I thought Marley was better than most of them, but I think you're right with the other ones, and it's just. I think this, as supporters, it's really hard to take anything much out of that game, and I hope we can just look back in a few weeks and say, look, we're actually playing much better than that. So whatever happened on that night wasn't important because it was a practice match. Yeah. But at the moment, we're looking at it and saying, well, is that representative of us? Because if it is, we're in a bit of trouble.
A deflating performance, but something that will lift us up a little bit, was a fairly decent win this afternoon from the VFL team in a practice match. 118-point winners. Positives out of the match: Broomhead with 31 touches and 3 goals. Darcy Moore playing his second game in Collingwood colours. Have you had a chance to look through the result yet, GC?
Look, I've just briefly. I was watching the scores a little bit earlier on. I saw Karnezis got 3 goals early. I saw Abbott got a few early, but I don't know the full extent of it. But if Karnezis kicked a few, Broomhead has obviously starred, albeit in an easy win. I mean, I would have thought that they're the guys lining up to say we will take some of the spots from you fellas last week, and they put themselves in the slot now to maybe get a game in round one.
I think the most positive sign for me was seeing the return of Big Wits. After watching our ruck division get manhandled on the weekend, I think his presence has been sorely missed. Is he clearly the number one ruckman in your eyes?
Based on last year's form, the guy's had a shoulder operation and is only coming back, so I think we can't judge him on anything he's put forward. So it's good to see him back. But yeah, absolutely. And last year he established himself as number one, and I think it's Grundy's job to take it off him. I thought Grundy in the first half of the Carlton match looked really strong, and then he got injured. But then against Footscray, he was just ordinary, wasn't he? And looked like a young ruckman against an experienced ruckman. So if Wits is fit, I think he should be picked as our ruckman. And I think the other thing he can do is, just at the end of last year, he showed an ability to clunk a few marks, and if he can come on with that, he's going to be have a bigger year.
Well, I think the most pleasing aspect, as I said, is we've gotten out of this game, no injuries. Degoe's ended up playing another game. I think he had 17 disposals, 6 clearances from what I read. The other pleasing thing is having Darcy Moore play his second game. Obviously, a lot of expectation on him. Do you find it a little bit disappointing that he's playing or starting thus far and not playing his trade up forward, given the lack of tall forwards you really have? Hello?
I sort of expected him to start back because he did in the VFL game last year, which I saw him in, and I thought he was an impressive looking kid in that game. He stayed back, so I love key forwards, so I'd hope he's going to be developed in that area. But I think with Galt and Cloak down there and Jesse White, maybe a season or two, or starting developing as a backman, it's not a bad move. That won't hurt him. He can go forward later, I would have thought.
Well, looking forward, we have our first game of the season to look forward to. The Lions, the untouchable Lions, as they came to be known in last October's trade period.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get the elephant in the room out of the way first. Dane Beams, what will it be? What will it mean to us, to the boys, to come out and play against their premiership winning teammate? Given all the circumstances, all the water that's gone under the bridge, whatever the issues were, is it going to be a big issue, and how big is the loss for us, first and foremost?
I think the loss is huge as far as his quality as a player is very hard to replace. I mean, he's one of the top 10 to 20 mids in the competition, so we don't get a direct as good replacement. But we've lost Greenwood at the moment. But if Greenwood's up and going, and De Goey and Crisp, it's not a bad compensation. But in the short term, it's going to be very hard to watch him play. And God, I hope he doesn't play well against us. I think that'll make me cry.
Yeah, it is going to be challenging to watch him to watch him suit up in another set of colours. But look, I think we're going to be in for a challenging game. The Lions certainly took it to us end of last year. I may have said earlier on that we should be going up there with a degree of confidence, but I'm not sure if we have that, and I'm not sure we've got the right to have that. At the moment, I look at the Lions list, they have an impressive midfield, one that I think could be compared to almost any of the better midfielders in the competition. Rich, Redden, Rockcliffe, Beams, and you can just keep going down. They're very talented and very deep there. What they lack is bookends. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely everything else. They don't have, in my opinion, a quality ruckman. Leuenberg is a bit of a potato. You've got the other boy, Stephen Martin, who, whilst was pretty impressive last year, at the end of the day, he's more of a tweener than he is a genuine ruckman. And then their forward stocks are two guys by the name of Michael Close and Jonathan Freeman, who have played 20 games between them. It's not exactly the makings of a premiership list thus far. So we should be able to go up there with some confidence that we can exploit those weaknesses. But I have concern that our coaching staff will be able to do that effectively. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, look, until last week, I would have been pretty bullish about going up there and saying, look, I think we should expect a good performance, and we've got more than they've got either. So I would have been confident, but I agree that we just, you can't, unless they've hidden something from us. Where were we last week, and what's our plan? I'm one that does believe it's hard to really decipher game plans without having all the inside knowledge, but we just looked last week like all the bad things from 2014. So you've just got to hope that's an aberration, because that's the thing that knocks your confidence. Before that, I thought, we're going to improve. We should be better. And hopefully Bucks and the team have worked in the summer to produce a coherent plan. And I think the other thing with our game plan is it will be different once we have everyone in and everyone going. And I think once Pendlebury, Swan, Cloak and that are at full bore, that's when we'll find it out. But I hope last week was just an aberration.
I think we're all on the same page there. I think we're all certainly praying for a better performance in 9 or 10 days' time. Now, the thing is, though, we look at the last couple of games, and we were just pointed that no one had really put their hand up and announced themselves as saying, right, well, I'm a genuine starter. And we mentioned Marley Williams as one that really had shown a bit. But in terms of the new boys and the fringe, who do you think will actually make the best 22 come round one?
Of the guys on the look, I still think Jordan De Goey is on his performance. I'd like to see him. He just looks ready to me. And while it's no great tragedy if he doesn't play, because he's got plenty of time, obviously, I'd love to see him come in, because we're excited to see him play. And then I think out of the guys who didn't play last week, I think Karnisis or Broomhead will get a spot. And who do you leave out? Well, Greenwood's got to come out. Varco's a hard one to pick because he looked terrible, but I think I'd give him a game. Crisp, I'd like to see play. It's just that there's so many guys that are a little bit borderline, but if I had to pick one bloke, I'd love to see play as DeGuy.
Well, for me in round one, there are a couple of names that I think really have to stand out, especially given who the opposition are and from a team balance perspective. I think Oxley definitely comes into consideration now. I think he's shown enough to suggest that he can certainly play a role. Reed's absence makes Frost a must-have. Always was probably going to be in the team anyway, but he's certainly very important. The other fringe guy that I've got in as a guarantee is for Solo. He has to play forward, and we have to expect the fact that being a small to medium forward, he is going to have inconsistent games. But considering the opposition, considering his talent level, he's definitely got to be in the side. The only other one that I'd add is Karnezis, and it's with no real confidence in terms of what he's shown thus far, but I think his potential, the way I've got our forward line or our best forward line setting up is with Fasolo, Cloak, Karnezis, Elliott, White, and then probably looking at a resting midfielder or a resting ruckman like Galt. Okay?
Is he allowed to play, Gold? Is he eligible?
Galt has been elevated, hasn't he?
It hasn't been announced as far as but you would think that he's the one in the box seat to be elevated. They've got a spot there for him. So if they want to play him, they can elevate him, definitely. The Macaffer spot's there.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that they've officially announced it, but I would expect they will this week.
And I've got to think that, with Witts probably not ready for round one, Grundy's not going to ruck by himself. White will spend some minutes in the ruck, and I think we still need to have a two-pronged forward line. Yeah. So Galt's got to give Cloak the chop out there.
Yeah, I think Galt. You're absolutely right. Galt has to play if Witts isn't ready because we can't just go in with one ruckman and White and Cloak as our two forwards. You need another tall. And I agree with Karnezis. The other thing with Karnezis is you might just think that his Collingwood debut against Brisbane might really be a spur because he looks like a kid that almost needs a real jab to get him going, perhaps, and it could be a real spur for him.
Oh, look, I've spoken about this at length with a few friends. The spur for him should be the fact that if he's not cracking a senior game this year, he probably doesn't have a future in football, and that's something that really should hit home with him. As it should with a lot of players getting to his age with this many AFL games. I mean, it's make or break for him. Same boat for a guy like Sinclair. Ramsey's probably got a little bit more in the tank because he's a bit younger. But
you're right, because there's going to be at the end of the year there's going to be a list, and I'd put Ramsey in there, and I'd put Josh Thomas in there.
Yep.
And I'd put even Fasolo could be in there. There's a lot of them that you don't want to be the last man standing without a seat,
Yeah, and I think a few of us would have had lines through a couple of players that have already shown us a little bit. I mean, I, for one, would have said that Oxley would have been on that table given his age, and even someone like Dwyer. But, Dwyer performed well in the VFL, and he has got AFL credits in the bank. Is he best for the club in the future? Well, no, given his age. But in the immediate future, if we're in the race for a finals run, why wouldn't you consider giving him a bit of playing time? So
Clinton Young will be in that list too, I think.
Well, Clinton Young almost has to sign a bottoms out contract or go. The money that we free up from him leaving is probably more important than his contribution so far to the club. I mean, it sounds really bad, but I'm trying to think of a great Clinton Young game for Collingwood, and it's a struggle. And I don't like hanging shit on players because they haven't performed well, but it's been a failed investment. The unfortunate thing is that, and we keep having these recurring discussions on the board about Nathan Buckley and the discussions and the decisions made by the coaching staff during his tenure. When you look at the recycled players we've brought in, it gives the haters plenty of ammunition to turn around and say, well, none of them have worked out. So my hope is that we can get a little bit of Clinton Young this year. Won't obviously be for the first round, but we've got to see a bit of a different look to the side come round one, and we'll see a little bit more enthusiasms. We talked about it at length. Guys like Adams really need to step up this year.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Young kids need to step up.
Yeah, young kids need to step up. It goes back to the Maxwell speech from the Copeland last year. Looking at looking at the few specific individuals and saying, your time is now. You've got to step up.
Mm.
I know we're a couple of weeks out, but any final thoughts on the game and what our expectations are?
Look, one final thought I've got just on what you said before there about our recycled pickups. I think you can't look at them in isolation because there was a necessity to pick up some experience when we offloaded experience and all the Dawes, the Thomases, the Shaws and all that. We picked up young kids or draft picks in replacement. So we had to go and get some. They were all cheap backup players, your Clinton Youngs and that. So I don't think it's a failed necessarily. We'd like them to have done better, but that was a necessity to pick up guys like that, I think.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. And look, as I said, I can understand why people have been critical of the players that have been picked up in light of other moves and trades that have been made. However, I can understand why we've made those decisions. Essentially, it's addition by subtraction. We've maximised our return for certain players and we filled gaps where we can. And by virtue of that, we've ended up with 7 first-round draft picks in 3 years. And jump-started our rebuild without bottoming out completely. That's been great for us.
So the benefit will come. I mean, the win will come if those early draft picks turn out to be great players, and then we'll say, all right, that policy worked.
That's right.
It won't matter that Clinton Young and that didn't really do that much.
Yeah, it's just a shame.
Filled a gap.
It's just a shame that in the short term, supporters can't see the dividends and the forest through the trees. With that in mind, I think we'll see a positive result against the Lions. I'm not amazingly confident, but I have a feeling, we could very easily go 3-0 to start the year. Brisbane, Adelaide here, and then St Kilda. And that really does set up our season. I think 11, 12 wins gets you into the 8 this year. So
if we go 3-0, let's go 5-0 and just knock out Essendon and
Carlton. Yeah, I think
that'd be then perfect.
That'd be a beautiful start. As long as we didn't end up on the bottom of the ladder like we did, I think, in the early 2000s after going 5-0.
That's right. Yes, yeah.
I think we'll be going all right. I think that's all we've got time for at the moment. What we'll try to do is have a quick discussion. We'll try to organise our next podcast before round 2, so we will be off for a little while. But
Mighty T, one other thing, were we going to do a quick cheerio to our prolific poster?
Yes. I believe we've got a milestone coming up on our board. I believe we're approaching Trade Daft's 50,000th official post. Which is incredible. What's the current count on GC? We have a round finger.
Someone said 140 to go, but that was 10 minutes ago, so it could have been down to 90 by now.
He's on 49,344. He's having a very busy night. So
right.
By the next podcast in 2 weeks' time, he should have reached that mark.
I trust that it'll reach that mark. We might see we get a TD special, get his a TD rant back on the podcast, and maybe a little celebration as well.
Great idea,
TD.
Great job, TD. Keep them coming, mate. We love having you around.
Another cheerio to Rachel Vic. We're thinking of you, mate, and hope you're doing okay.
Yes, absolutely.
No, well said, guys. Feel better soon, mate. Thanks again for coming on, Magpie Girl. I really appreciate your commitment to organising me. Unfortunately, I've been a little bit wayward this week.
Thanks, Mighty T.
And Gone Critical, thanks for coming on, mate.
Thanks. So hopefully the next time we're talking with happy voices.
With happy voices sitting in the top 8 of the AFL ladder. This is the Mighty T signing out.